Hey friends, and welcome back to a new video. Today I'm joined by my boyfriend Johannes.
Hi.
And today I thought we could have a really candid conversation about what 2020 has taught us so far this year. I feel like 2020 has been a very eventful year. A lot of people would regard it as a very eventful year in a negative way. And there are lots of environmental things going on, political things, but then also the pandemic, of course. This difficult year is something that will eventually pass, that we will get through, and it is often in more tough situations like these where we grow the most. So I wanted to talk to you about, and talk to you guys also, about what we learned this year. For lunch, we're having a lentil salad with spinach, red beets, and white beans, and a mustard dressing. Definitely looks healthy. How has the pandemic kind of affected you specifically?
And I would say that luckily I was affected by the pandemic very little, because I already spent most of my time inside. When I go out, I go just for a walk out in nature, and that's still fine even in the pandemic. So not much has changed. And also in college, I didn't have classes anymore anyway. I was just writing my bachelor's thesis. I couldn't use the library, but it was still fine. I could just write at home. The main thing was that I couldn't use the gym anymore. I had to start doing home workouts. I got a pull-up bar and learned about calisthenics and bodyweight exercises. And I think I'm going to keep it up even after the pandemic. While those things are annoying, I still consider myself very lucky. I mean, other people are impacted a lot worse by the pandemic. A lot of people lost their jobs. A lot of people lost loved ones or lost their own health. And so, while I experienced some minor annoyances, I think that's not that big of a deal. All the things that we take for granted, like going for the gym in college every day, that was absolutely normal for me. Or that those things weren't things where I thought I would at some point not be able to do them in the near future. And I think it's the same with a lot of things in our lives, that we take things for granted, that we never really realize how easy it is to lose something.
Yeah, so true.
And not just with superficial or unimportant things like going to the gym, but we can lose our ability to walk, or we can lose a person we care a lot about. And it can happen so fast, and we never really think about it. And so this pandemic really taught me to appreciate what I have and stop taking things for granted.
Yeah, for me definitely as well. I also learned to appreciate these small things as well. For me, I also learned to find happiness in small activities, I guess, like baking or painting. And before that, I knew I enjoyed it, but I didn't really, I don't know, I guess I always felt like I have so many options that I would rather do something else. But in the end, I do feel like those simple activities bring me a lot of joy, and I've got to revisit those. I have to say, for me personally, in the beginning of the pandemic, I found it quite easy. I noticed a lot of my friends saying that they found it really difficult, and also mentally, and just not being able to see other people. And I didn't have any problems at all. I felt like I was actually really thriving, in the sense that I could focus on things that I really enjoy and focus in on making YouTube videos that I really enjoy doing. But as time got on, it was more difficult for me mentally. I don't know how it was for you.
I don't feel like it got more difficult over time for me. But I think from the beginning it wasn't difficult for me to be more isolated, so to say, because I still have you, and so I'm not alone. I'm not just sitting at home alone. I still have somebody to talk to, but I miss like the social aspect of Like, for example, going to the gym. So now when I have a home workout, I just do my workout and that's it. And when I go to the gym, I meet all my gym friends and talk to them. And so it's more like a bigger social event and not just the exercise itself. Also, with going to college, last semester I still had classes in college. I would go to class and meet people there and have a short chat with them. So going to class also had like this social aspect, and all this now fell away with the COVID pandemic. I do miss it.
As I said, for me, it was definitely the mental aspect of this now dragging on for more than 6 months. But I guess what I also learned is that we're all kind of in this together. And not only the pandemic, but also other things that no matter what you're experiencing, like mental health wise or stress wise, there's always going to be someone that feels the same way or felt the same way at some point. For me, knowing that I'm not in this alone, or there are other people that can relate to me, that really helped for me.
I think we tend to believe that we are alone and that our suffering is kind of unique and special, but usually that's not the case. Like, no matter what you're going through, whether it's about your health or your job or whatever else, chances are a lot of people are going through the exact same problem, and suffering is just part of the human experience. There are, of course, differences between people, but in the end we are all going through this together, and we all have our share of suffering. And I think when we acknowledge this and see that we are not alone and that this is just like a shared experience that we all have in common, can help us feel better and not just feel so alone and victimized.
Yeah, I guess especially with people, maybe you guys see my videos and feel like, oh, she has her life together and things like that, but there's actually not a single person that does not have any problems. Everyone has problems. Even the most successful, richest, happiest person has problems. And I feel like we need to remember that, especially in the age of social media where everything is so curated and so polished. Even the most perfect seeming couple out there on social media has their problems and fights. And when it comes to us, like our relationship, I think there are those couples where the pandemic kind of breaks the relationship, but then I think like there are also other couples where it kind of makes them even stronger. And I feel like that was the case for us, that it kind of bonded us together more. I don't know how you feel about this.
I think many couples are not used to spending so much time together as we do. They spend most of their days at work and then only see each other for dinner or in the evening. But we see each other pretty much 24 hours a day already before the pandemic. So to us, this change wasn't so traumatic or such big of a change. But for people who are used to seeing their partner only for 1 or 2 hours a day, and suddenly they go to being 24 hours a day with them, I think they get to know sides of their partners that they didn't even know, and I think it's hard for many people because they're just not used to it.
I feel like what I really came to enjoy that has been kind of new for us since the pandemic is taking walks with you. I used to really not like taking walks, but it was kind of, I don't know, this nice and really simple, down-to-earth event, you could call it, or activity, where we got to spend really nice time together. And it doesn't have to be complicated. It was just, I don't know, simple. I don't know, I just really enjoyed that. And that is something we didn't do before.
I always asked you.
I know, but I never wanted to go. But yeah, now I really learned to enjoy that. And as we said before, not take small things for granted. Is there anything else this year has taught you?
Yeah, I think with the pandemic and spending so much time at home, I tried a lot of new things that I wanted to do for a while but didn't do. For example, this year I did a 72-hour fast for the first time, and I eat a ketogenic diet for the first time, and we went backpacking for the first time. So we tried a lot of new things because now we are in a situation where we have to spend a lot of time at home. We have a lot of time at our hands, so this is the perfect time to try new things. And those new activities also taught me quite a lot. And it goes back to the part about appreciating what we already have. For example, when I didn't eat any food for 72 hours, I did develop a whole new appreciation for food that I didn't have before. I think I never really went hungry before for more than a few hours maybe. And being really hungry for 3 days in a row is an experience that most people never have in their lives, at least in Western countries. For many less fortunate people, that sadly is their daily reality. They go hungry. Many people, I think thousands of people starve to death every year. And we are in a lucky situation where we don't have to worry about food at all. The same goes for water. When we went backpacking and had to carry all the water that we're going to drink on our backs, we really had to start to ration our water, and usually we just turn on the faucet and take whatever we need. But when you have to carry it on your back, you're limited, and then water gains a whole different worth. You don't want to waste a single drop because it's so valuable. We usually don't appreciate that as much as we should, and when we start to acknowledge that we have all these privileges, that we are so fortunate that we don't have to worry about things like food or water or shelter, we can really appreciate that, because what more do you really need to be happy if so many people would kill to be in our position to just to have the necessities of life.
For me, something else I learned was just to relax and let myself be carried by the situation. So to give some context, around February maybe, I had to kind of decide what to do next, because we're both kind of at the end of our studies and we need to be looking into getting a job or just what we're going to do next. And that was kind of what I was debating on and stressing on about, because I didn't know what to choose. And I kept stressing and thinking until I had finally decided, and then the pandemic hit. And what I decided I couldn't do because of the pandemic, and that kind of really upset me, because I had spent so much time thinking and planning, and now that I've decided, I can't do it. And I kept on holding on to my plan, and I think that just gave me even more worries and stress than necessary. If I had just, as people say, go with the flow, if I had just gone with the flow, then it could have just adapted. And I think it's good to plan your life, at least roughly, but when things change, and a lot of the times in life things do change, they don't go according to plan, then you should try to be flexible, or I need to try to be flexible. I'm really bad at that. To be flexible and to go with it, and in the end, maybe it's meant to be. It's much better than what you had originally planned. And that is something that I definitely have come to realize this year.
Yeah, over planning is also a big problem in my life. I tend to spend way too much time on planning things, and it's still a problem for me, but I think the pandemic helped me to get better at it. For example, with the fasting that I did, I wanted to do it for months, if not for years, but I never really started doing it, because I always thought, no, I don't know enough about it yet. I have to research more, I have to plan more, I have to find the perfect fasting protocol. And at some point I just said, okay, I'm going to fast in 2 weeks, and I'm going to look into it until then, and then I'm just going to do it. And that's what I did. And while I didn't know everything there's to know about fasting when I did it, I did know enough to do it, and that just showed me that sometimes you just have to do it. Sometimes you can spend too much time planning and waiting for everything to be perfect, but oftentimes you should just do it and jump in and figure things out. And once you get started, you will figure it out anyway. You will be forced to learn very fast. You will be confronted with new situations, and you will have to adapt, and this will teach you more than any planning you can do beforehand.
Yeah, a lot of the times we're held back from taking action because we're scared of not having planned enough, and it is totally understandable. It's really scary trying something new, but a lot of times you just have to jump in and then change course as you go and learn as you go.
For you, were there any other things that you learned over the last year, not necessarily in connection to the pandemic, but just things that you learned for yourself?
Well, this is not totally apart from the pandemic, but I feel like With the pandemic, well, not only the pandemic, maybe it contributed a little bit, but I do spend quite a lot of time on my phone. And I've already made 2 videos about this, but time and time again, it just really shows me that social media really brings me down. It kind of, I guess I could say that it makes me unhappy. I mean, you could say YouTube is social media, not this aspect of it. I really enjoy making videos and posting them and commenting to you guys. What, for me specifically, the problem is Instagram. I just spend so much time scrolling through Instagram and looking at things that I feel like are important or valuable, especially things that I find funny. I feel like my life is going to be worse if I take out that funny thing. But every time I do this kind of cleanse, you could call it, and log out of my Instagram, I really do notice that I don't need it. I don't need to look at some funny meme and laugh. I can use that time and enjoy other things. And when I don't have it, I don't feel like I'm missing out. And I guess you could say that in some way we're not 100% responsible because these platforms are created in a way that make us addicted. For example, every time I log out of my Instagram, I get emailed saying, so-and-so liked your image and so-and-so posted this, just to get me back on there. I unfollowed quite a lot of people on my private social media just so that I don't have so much on my feed, and I don't know, I have to do regular cleanses, and it just proved to me once again that Instagram is really robbing my time and my happiness.
But you said that we are necessarily responsible, but I would say that we are. I would say that it maybe is not our fault, because these platforms are designed to be addictive, and these companies, they hire psychologists, they hire people who used to work at casinos to design slot machines. These are experts in creating addictive products. So it's not necessarily our fault that we get addicted to these devices or these apps. It's not our fault. We still are responsible. We are responsible to acknowledge this and to make the decision to not play along and just saying, I'm just going to scroll a little bit. That doesn't work. You have to really set hard rules for yourself to overcome it. Like restricting it to specific time slots that you stick to, or just deleting it completely and never using it.
Yeah, I feel like at least for me now, unfollowing so many people that my feed is so short and so tiny definitely helps a lot, because I get on there and then after 2 images, I feel like, okay, I've seen this, then I put my phone away. That definitely helps. And there's also this new documentary on Netflix about social media and how they're designed for us to be addicted to them. And we haven't seen that yet, but if I'm not mistaken, the conclusion, I think, of the documentary, or the solution that they propose, is to not use it, or to use it, or use it less, or not use it, something like that. So there really is no way around it. You just have to, as you said, not use it, give yourself restrictions. It just, every time I stop, it's so refreshing. What else is something that you learned?
With the pandemic and the related health worries, I also looked a lot more into health, and I learned a lot more about nutrition. I'm currently reading How Not to Die by Michael Greger, which is a great book. And I knew this before, but it really taught me again that just being vegan is not enough to be healthy. And vegan nutrition is not necessarily healthy, and potato chips are vegan, so you can have a horrible diet being vegan. I didn't eat tons of Oreos and potato chips to begin with. That wasn't an issue for me, but even my diet so far was a little bit too high in processed carbs, things like bread and pasta. I usually ate a lot of that, and then a little bit of vegetables and beans and nuts on the side. And I realized that I kind of have to turn this around, and that my plate shouldn't be a huge portion of pasta and then some veggies, but it should be a huge portion of veggies and then some pasta on the side. And I'm kind of in the process of doing this transition. I try to make smaller pasta sizes and larger veggie sizes, and having a serving of fruit with every meal, and eating nuts every day. When it comes to our health, we always have to try to learn more and become better, because ultimately we only have this one body that we were given, and we have to take good care of it.
Yeah. Something else I've been incorporating more, or actually it's pretty recently, is meditating at night. I feel like that has really, since now towards the, not the end of the pandemic, but towards like the recent times, I've been more struggling mentally, and I feel like for me, meditation has been really nice. I didn't really do much of it before, but before I go to sleep, I just put on some guided meditation. I forgot what the app was called.
An Insight Timer?
Oh, Insight Timer, yeah. And it just really relaxes me and helps me focus on the present moment, really help my mental health. I know you really are really into meditation.
Yeah, I've been meditating for a while. I think I started like 4 or 5 years ago, but it was really inconsistent. Sometimes I didn't do it for a month at a time, and when I did it, I didn't really do it right. And now with the pandemic, I started doing a meditation course on the Waking Up app by Sam Harris, and I've been doing it for the last month, and I do it every day in the morning for 10 minutes, and
while I'm still sleeping.
Yeah. And I find it really helpful. I already learned so much doing this course, and the way I meditate changed completely. It really has opened my eyes to what meditation really is, or because when we're meditating, we're basically training our minds, and what we often don't realize is that our experience of our life is just the experiences in our consciousness. We experience everything through our consciousness. Everything we see, we feel, we hear, we think, that's all in our consciousness. And we often tend to think that we have to arrive at a certain position in our lives. That I have to get this job, I have to get married or find a partner that I love, I have to retire, or whatever else. We tend to think I have to arrive at that destination, and then I can lay back and enjoy the present moment. And doing this, we always look forward to the next stepping stone and the next stepping stone, and at some point the next stepping stone is death. And so we just wait our entire lives away. And meditation can teach you to be happy and be content with the present moment right now. No matter the circumstances, you can just be present in the moment and happy right now. No matter what we have outside, at some point our happiness is in our head, and we can access that right now if we want to.
Yeah, I found it really helpful too. I hope you enjoyed listening to us kind of ramble and talk about what we learned this year. I feel like it was a nice reflection. Did you think so?
Yeah.
So I encourage you guys maybe to also sit down and think about what you guys learned this year. Maybe that can shed some light on your growth this year. I definitely found it really helpful, and I recommend it. So thank you so much for sticking with us for so long. If you stuck with us for so long, give it a thumbs up. And that lets us know that you like this kind of video, want to see more. And I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.